Hey, well, no one plays the everyman better than Benedict Cumberbatch, am I right? On Film Threat Reviews. Hey everybody, I'm Alan Ning. I'm with Zorianna Kit, and today we review The Courier, now out in theaters. Courier is about the Cold War spy Greville Wynne and his Russian counterpart as they tried to end the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's directed by Dominic Cooke, stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Merab Ninidze, Rachel Brosnahan, and Jessie Buckley. So yeah, I'll start with this one. I saw this movie at Sundance when it was called Iron Bark. Which was well over a year ago, and the last time I was actually at a film festival, and I did get to see it again last few days, and not too much has changed except for the name. That was the Iron Bark. This is The Courier. So I found this one fairly fascinating. We talked about, or I just mentioned, Benedict Cumberbatch. He plays the average guy down very well, and he very much plays that average guy in this one. He's a salesman. The CIA, they hire him to be a courier of top secret Russian intelligence about their nuclear program and their nuclear capabilities. He's the courier, and he ultimately gets, in the third act, he gets caught, and it's a very interesting story. As far as World War II stories, these spy thrillers, I was thoroughly engaged and fascinated by it from start to finish. I love the energy. I love the soundtrack that went behind it. I was pretty gripped. What did you think of The Courier?
I was really gripped. I mean, this is an independent film. It doesn't have that slickness that some of the big studios have. So, it doesn't have such a grand scale that, let's say, like another espionage thriller like Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies has, right? Yeah. Or because it touches on the Cuban Missile Crisis, it doesn't have that, 13 days kind of thing. So it's definitely, and hence it was at Sundance. So it definitely has a more indie vibe to it. But still, first of all, I didn't know this story was true. I didn't know that Benedict Cumberbatch's counterpart character, Penkovsky, played by the fabulous, I'm going to butcher his name, but I think it's Merab Ninidze. He's an actor he's a Georgian-born actor, so he speaks Russian. This Penkovsky is, I guess, considered to date the U.S.'s most valuable spy, and was responsible in preventing the Cuban Missile Crisis with the help of our courier. So I was fascinated by that story because, again, not being raised in the States, being Canadian, but also being Ukrainian and kind of understanding that whole Soviet thing that was going on, I was really gripped. To me, what stood out about this film, more so than some of these other spy thrillers, is that I felt that, like, yes, there is that when will they be caught, or will they be caught? There are those moments where you kind of wondering, like, when is that going to happen, or will it happen? Will they get away with it? But the thing that I think is more important in this story is the relationship between these two spies, the American and the Russian one. There is, for lack of a better word, almost a bromance going on here. They develop this really deep friendship that still in the back of your mind, you feel like, yeah, but they're spies and their job is to integrate into each other's lives and families. And then, like, so you still do wonder if there is an element of that is still there. But the bottom line is, it's a deep friendship based on loyalty. And what this movie stands out to me for being more than just a spy thriller is a movie about loyalty, especially that powerful scene at the very end when both of them are in jail and they see each other for the first time and they have a really important conversation before the guards take them away. And that scene just, it broke me, and it summarized everything about what these two men stood for. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned they were both spies. Well, I mean, Greville's character. He's not really a spy. He's a recruited civilian who just served as the guy passing notes back and forth. But he understood the gravity of what he was doing, and I agree with you. I think the message, the theme of this is about that loyalty, about that friendship, and loyalty to the point that you would be willing to risk your life for that friend, which happens here.
But man, it was good. And first of all, the original title that you mentioned, Iron Bark.
Yes.
I don't know where that comes from. It's a horrible title.
It was Petrovsky's military name.
Okay. Well, Iron Bark makes me think of Iron Man, which makes me think of Benedict Cumberbatch and his Marvel movies. But then The Courier is such a boring title. Like if you IMDb it, there's like so many projects in The Courier.
Yeah.
But it sort of is apropos with this boring title going with Greville, who is supposed to be basically the world's most boring man, the most boring, unassuming man that they sent to be this courier to extract that information. And it's so interesting that Benedict Cumberbatch, who is anything but boring as an actor, whose facial features are anything but boring. I mean, they're so distinct, yet somehow he was this guy. You believed that he was just a boring, uninteresting man.
Yeah, I mean, he has, I think about, to some degree, Stephen Strange is a normal guy. Alan Turing is a normal guy. He's not this over the top, character. I'll refer you to an SNL sketch called "Why Is He Hot," which is about Benedict Cumberbatch. And just to kind of, just this weird fascination we have with this guy. And I will say, when I went to Sundance, I was replacing someone who wasn't able to go, and so I got that person's tickets. And Iron Bark was in. Had no clue what it was until the movie started rolling. So yeah, it was like, I was thinking it was like maybe a Native American story. Or who knows? One thing we should talk about is the women roles, both Rachel Brosnahan and Jessie Buckley. We'll go with Rachel's first, but this is an interesting one because at Sundance and at the Q&A afterwards, they talked about the fact that Rachel's character didn't exist. It was a male agent, and they decided to change the gender. I found that interesting because I wasn't exactly sure why, and it in a way, knowing that after seeing the movie kind of threw off the way I saw it the second time, because as much as we want to broaden roles for women, allow to take roles that are fairly generic that could be played by either gender and give it to women, to people of color. In this case, I find that weird to do it for historical pieces, for actual events. And I think what kind of I kept thinking about at this time was, we're talking the early 60s, 1960, in fact. I don't know exactly how the world was going on at the time, especially in terms of gender roles, but I feel like that her character, she's a fairly confident agent. They're giving her a lot of leeway, and I'm wondering to myself, in the 1960, would a woman agent have been given this kind of leeway and gravitas, and that's the thing that I kept thinking about while watching the film for the second time.
Also, I feel like at that time women maybe didn't, again, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I also feel like maybe women necessarily didn't occupy those types of positions. I mean, they would be taking on more secretarial roles and things like that. So I don't know what probability is of having a female spy at that level at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the impression I got was that there were women agents, but I feel like they're kind of like the United States versus Billie Holiday, where there were black FBI agents.
Yes.
But were they really seen as agents at the time?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that that kind of I question about it. And other than that, it's still a compelling story. It was a real these events really happened for the most part. And so I kind of question fudging with history in that way, just to, I guess, appear more woke. You know?
Well, I did read that the real Greville Wynne had a stutter, and by the way, I feel like that probably would have overshadowed the film.
Yeah, that would have become the thing.
Yeah, yes, exactly, and then that just becomes a whole other movie. And so, I mean, if he was really a stutterer in real life, I'm glad that they were just that something was not a factor in the film. But other than that, I feel like this is a movie that people should watch just to know a piece of little known American history, because the consequences of what could have happened were so huge. And we did have that missile crisis that we saw documented behind the scenes in 13 Days starring Kevin Costner, which gave us a whole vision of the panic and the crisis that was going on at that time. And knowing that Penkovsky was doing his thing over in the Soviet Union, helping us. And it all just kind of like goes together to create this larger view. So for me, it's a must-see from that angle. And also, it's a spectacular cast. I mean, everyone's flawless.
Yeah, well, let's bring it one more. Jessie Buckley as the wife of Greville Wynne. You know, I personally, I liked the role. I think she played it more than just the wife. I think there's a lot of dimension to it, and the role was a lot bigger than you wouldn't imagine in films like this from the past. What did you think of her?
Well, at first I thought, oh, God, this is Jessie Buckley. Like, didn't we see her we saw her in a movie with Jesse Plemons, like that music.
Yeah, the Charlie Kaufman movie.
Yes. And I was like, why is she the wife in this? Like it just seemed such a throwaway thing it felt so underwritten at the beginning, but then it turns out to be, like you said, more than just the wife. So I had to like, you know, backtrack on my thoughts because I changed my mind as I watched the movie and saw that it was more than that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me about Jessie Buckley is the first thing I ever saw her in was Wild Rose, and it was such a big and dynamic role. And if you ever see her in interviews, she's a very dynamic person, and yet when she's cast in these big studio films, it's always as that quiet, you know, the quiet wife, the quiet girlfriend.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you know, we really need to, you know, other than Wild Rose, we really need to see her in roles that really suit her true talent.
Yeah.
And, you know, as good as she is in here, it's, you know, she could do a whole lot more than this.
Yeah. Oh, no, she can for sure. I wonder what the motivation was for her to do this role. Like if there was something, you know, if there was.
You got to build that IMDb. I mean, that's the true fact. It's, you know, she's a British import, and she's got to prove herself. And so she, you know, at least she's getting good roles to do it. She was in Judy. She was in Judy last year as well.
But hey, at least she gets to star opposite Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, like that's just a masterclass in acting right there. So, so yes, there's probably a lot of good reasons for her to do this.
All right. So you clearly love the film. Yeah, you love the thriller aspect of it, the acting, the historical nature of it. So I'm going to guess you gave it an 8.
Yes, I gave it an 8 for exactly all those reasons. It is a recommend for me for sure. I think that you like this movie as well. You loved it for I think all the same reasons. I know you had a little bit of reservation with the Rachel Brosnahan character, knowing the truth after the fact. That probably took off maybe a half a point for you. So I think you probably gave it 7.5.
No, I wouldn't take a half point off or something like that. I mean, the reality is, you know, when I saw the movie and when it was done, that's really all I can judge the movie on. And so I gave it an 8 then. I still give it an 8 now. Yeah, with that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment below what you thought of The Courier. It's out in theaters now. And let's get out of here.